Today is November 9th. My name is Nicholas Lamar Suter, and this is Overtime. We are following a developing story, so some of the details have been fluctuating. So let's talk about what we know. Trump was ordered by a court to pay the full SNAP benefits. He had decided he was only going to pay about 60%, 65%, which would allow the fund to continue through November. The decision to pay the full amount was overturned by, or stayed, I should say, by the U.S. Supreme Court, and once he was told he didn't have to pay the full amount, he went down to 50%, saying that he was only going to pay 50% benefits for November. So the numbers seemed to magically change, and how much is in that emergency reserve has fluctuated. Sometimes it's roughly 2/3 of what's needed for a single month, and sometimes it's half of what's needed for a single month. He has decided it is half, and that is what he is going to pay out. A number of states have taken it upon themselves to make up the difference out of their own budgets, saying that they will pay the remaining, originally 1/3 and now 1/2. Many states cannot do this. This is normally shouldn't be political, but it has to be pointed out because I think it affects the decision making he's made going forward. It has to be pointed out that red states have a harder time making up that difference than blue states. Blue states, wow, happen to be doing better both economically and on a couple of different metrics than red states. So in general, it's Trump's own base that he would be hurting most by only half filling these mandate. Having said that, Trump today has issued a statement regarding the states that have decided that they will make up the difference. Earlier, the USDA had made a statement saying that they would not reimburse states for any difference that they make up. That means the states will have to pay out of their own pocket. Now, there's a problem with that, the biggest of which is I'm still paying taxes, and I'm still paying taxes at the full rate, meaning the money that is required for SNAP is still going into the coffers. They are just not sending it out because the government is shut down. But they should be able to, and in fact are required to, reimburse the states, and they'll have the money to reimburse the states for any difference that they make up. This is an emergency situation, literally, for the entire country. More than 10% of the country relies on some form of SNAP assistance. So on top of the government being shut down, he's literally saying, screw the poor and the people who need some form of food assistance, either because they're on disability or for whatever reason. So he's gone out of his way to keep states from making up the difference, literally telling them that he won't reimburse them. Well, today he's gone a step further, saying that the USDA has come out and said that all states must, quote, immediately undo any steps taken to issue full payments to the recipients of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Again, that's the full name of it. Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. USDA has ordered all states to stop anything they are doing to make up the difference between what people are in need of and what they have been told they're going to get and what the federal government will actually provide. This means those states which have been preparing to, out of pocket, make up the difference, so people in their state are getting 100% of their SNAP assistance at the state's cost, have been instructed not to do so. There can really be no... I like to apply, much to the chagrin of most people who know me, the maximal charity to everyone I engage with. even those who are patently and obviously gaslighting or lying. I see no charity that can be given to Trump here other than to say that he is deliberately waging war on people who need SNAP assistance. There is no reason for the federal government to tell states what to do with their money, which is, by the way, illegal. The states can do whatever they want with their money, and if they want to pay and help their poor, their disabled, their underserved in some way, they can do that. What Trump doesn't like is that it's making him look bad, that they're making up the difference, and what he also doesn't like is that it's making red states look bad because they can't make up the difference as well as blue states. That's a fact. Someone fact check me on that and tell me I'm wrong. The blue states can do a lot better because they're making more money, most of which, when the federal government is open, ends up going to the red states because they can't carry themselves. Barbaric is the correct word. This is utterly barbaric. He's not permitted to tell states what to do with their own money, let alone that they are now barred from making up the difference. Trump has decided, now that he's been told that he actually does not have to pay the full amount, and that the Supreme Court has issued a stay in that court decision, he has decided to go back down to the 50%, meaning the federal government will pay only 50% SNAP benefits. Some states have the capacity and are willing to make up the extra 50% on their own. They've been told they will not be reimbursed, which is illegal. They will do it anyway. They will do it anyway. And now they are being told they can't. It can be nothing more than a bargaining chip to be able to say, look, now that I've told Democratic states that they can't feed their own people, the Democrats are the cause of the starvation in the U.S. because they've shut down the federal government. Now that I have eliminated every other possibility for feeding starving people in this country except one, SNAP, which has been shut down, at least partially, and because I've taken every step possible not to fund it, even though we've got the funds, it's the Democrats' fault. He is literally weaponizing hunger in this country, and people will likely starve as a result in this country in this modern age. Meanwhile, as we're covering that story, we have also learned that the transportation chief has warned that by the time we get to Thanksgiving, air traffic could be reduced to a trickle. It is already being reduced 10%, and I've been looking at the numbers. 10% is nowhere near. 10% is dangerously low amount to cut. They need to be cutting more. They've lost more than 10% of their air traffic controllers who are already overburdened. They've lost, from what I can tell, a minimum of 20% of their air traffic controllers that are not coming into work. 20% nationwide, and they're cutting only 10% at the biggest hubs. The math does not add up. The math does not add up. So there is going to be an air traffic crisis in this country very soon. So we'll see how that works. At any rate, let's see. Donald Trump had said something else during the so we're gonna follow this story. It's still breaking. We don't know as of yet how much Trump is going to fund SNAP. At this point, what it looks like to us here is that he is going to continue to fund SNAP at the lower level, which has an additional benefit if you're deliberately trying to crash the government, which is that if you fund SNAP at a lower level, the SNAP benefits have to be recalculated based on the availability. SNAP is not a linear scale. So the greater the need, obviously, the more you get, and it's not just a simple percentage. So when there is a simple percentage cut in the base amount of funds available, everybody's benefits need to be recalculated. The government has said it will take about 2 months to fully recalculate everybody on SNAP. I don't know what they mean by that. Do they mean it would take 2 months? Were they open? They aren't really running SNAP, so I don't know what they plan to do. My suspicion is that it's going to take 6 months based on the government shutdown, and during that time they're going to be sending out a trickle of SNAP benefits. That seems to be what Trump is actually arguing about. He wants to be able to send out a percentage so that he can arbitrarily pick whatever percentage he wants, and that percentage is going to be extraordinarily low, and he's going to use some fairness doctrine to say, well, we haven't recalculated and you want us to get the amount right. If the states were to supplement any of this or bring it up to 100% on their own, none of those calculations are necessary. None of those calculations are necessary. The government can continue to fund SNAP at 50%. The states will make it up on their own, and those states don't need to be recalculated, meaning those states continue to receive all their benefits. And they're blue states. This is one of the more disgusting maneuvers I've seen in quite some time. And again, we're still learning. We don't know what percentage. We don't know what the consequences are for states who violate this. We do know what he's saying is actually illegal. They can supplement it if they want to. It's a federal program, so they can't supplement it and call it SNAP, but they can call it something else, and oops, we inadvertently just dropped a whole bunch of money into your EFT account for SNAP. Whatever they choose to call it, however they choose to do it, the states administrate the program. It's a federal program. So they can't really mess with a federal program, I agree, but they can give citizens of their choosing, just give away money if they want. It's the states' money. This is the party of states' rights, for crying out loud, and they're saying the states are willing to make up the difference to feed the homeless, and Trump is saying if you do this, there will be administrative, legal, and financial consequences. We don't know what he means by any of those. The legal, probably he's going to sue the states for interfering with the federal program. Financial, he's probably going to cut SNAP even more to any state that offers to make up the difference. We don't know what he means by this, but we do know that he is quite serious. And again, the quote from the agricultural department is that all states are directed to immediately undo any steps taken to issue full payments to the recipients of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. This, by the way, includes not just funding, but any other assistance that they are giving. So if states are setting up their own shelters, if states are setting up their own food banks, if states are setting up anything to supplement the difference between what SNAP is giving and what SNAP should be giving, were it open, were it being fully funded, a state is at risk. It is speechless. It's stunning, and shows that Trump has truly become disconnected with reality. All he sees is the politics at this point. You don't mess with starving people in this country. We can and should be funding this 100%. The only reason we're not is to blame Democrats for the shutdown. That's it. And as soon as anybody tries to say, hey, you know what, let's take the politics out of this and just feed people, he says, you do that, I'm taking you to court. They're not even asking for their money back. He's supposed to give it back. They're not asking for it back. They're saying, we're just going to feed our citizens. This is what our state wants to do. He says, nope, you're not going to do it. Not in this country. You know, Governor Gavin Newsom is making the rounds, and he has said that the Democrats are now on their toes, not on their heels, as a result of the latest election. He may be right, he may be wrong. If there were anybody alive today who would see Trump It's the antithesis of what we say our values are, especially perhaps as a Christian country. It isn't Gavin Newsom. It isn't Gavin Newsom who would be disgusted by this behavior. It isn't even I'm a godless heathen and I'm disgusted by this behavior, but I'm not the most disgusted. The person who would be the most disgusted by this behavior, not the Thanksgiving that everyone's going to miss, but keeping food away from children, 1 in 5 who are born in poverty in this country. The man who would be most disgusted with this behavior is this man. That man, a number of whom, his followers, voted for Trump, and at some point are going to have to decide, do they believe in Trump or that they should always feed and shelter the homeless? That which you do to the least among us, you do to me. What Trump wants to do to the least among us. And we know he doesn't want anybody else to help. He is deliberately getting in their way. That is overtime for November 9th. We will be following that story on our Discord. Again, the exact numbers, whether he's going for 50% or 2/3, and what he is threatening the states with is still breaking. It's a developing story, but as soon as we learned of it, we had to go live with it. I'm going to quickly check the live chat and just make sure that we are up to date on everything. Papa Dutch, our values used to be that we have values. Yeah. Thank you for your membership. Papa Dutch has been a member for 13 months. Thank you, sir. Yeah, truth, absolutely. So come join us on the Discord. We'll be following this story. It's when you think about what he's really saying. If you dare feed your homeless, I will attack you and your state. We've seen how he does it. He's not. Once again, this is November 9th. My name is Nicholas Lamar Suter, and this has been Overtime. Thank you for joining us.